in a barren, sun-scorched land, where death doesn't come with claws, but flows quietly from the very water that was supposed to save you. A lioness leads her 2 cubs in search of life. But in that very watering hole, the one place she hoped to find hope, the one who took her mate years ago, waits beneath the silent mud. And then, something no one could have imagined happened. Today's story isn't just about the wild. It's about the courage of a mother, the price of love, and the kind of truth that can bring even the most hardened human hearts to silence. Now, come with me. Step into a journey where nature speaks no words, but still makes the human heart tremble. Beneath a land scorched by the unforgiving sun of the dry season, the earth cracked open, like it had been torn apart by heat. And through this world of dust, silence, and fading hope, a lioness and her 2 cubs moved slowly, step by weary step. No shade, no grass, only blazing sand, sharp rocks, and dry winds that scraped across their faces like sandpaper. Shani, once strong, now gaunt, her shoulders sunken, led her 2 cubs forward. Kumi, her growing son, and Nia, his tiny little sister, too young to understand despair. They hadn't tasted real water in 3 days. Kumi staggered, then collapsed, his eyes dull. Every breath seemed to burn from inside his chest. Shani turned back, gently nudging his shoulder with her muzzle. She growled softly, like a whisper of comfort, but in her eyes, pure desperation. Then, a scent, carried by the wind, metallic and foul. A scent Shani would never forget. She turned her head. There it was, a filthy, stagnant pool, thick with mud and rot. That pool, the very same one. 2 years ago, her mate, Rondo, was dragged beneath those waters by a massive crocodile. His body was never found, only a smear of blood, and the horrifying silence of the swamp. Shani closed her eyes, and in that 1 second, she could smell it again, the leathery stench of crocodile skin beneath the cold mud. She wasn't sure, but deep in her gut, something screamed, "Don't let them near it." Shani froze, a mother's instinct rising, stronger than thirst, stronger than exhaustion. She tightened her guard, staying close to her cubs, every muscle alert. But she didn't know that just moments later, as she turned to scan the surroundings, Kumi had begun to inch away, step by step, moving beyond the safety of his mother's protection. Kumi stood up, staggering. Shani was still scanning the area, alert, but she hadn't noticed yet. Naya, his little sister, watched him and called out softly. But Kumi didn't stop. Each step he took felt like it carried the weight of his own shadow. His vision blurred, his ears rang, and in his mind only one word echoed: water. Shani hadn't turned around. The wind carried more of the scent of burnt grass than that of a predator. Kumi reached the water's edge. His paws sank slightly into the muck. He lowered his head and drank. Gulp after desperate gulp beneath the surface. A faint movement began to take shape. At first, just a shadow. Then, it grew clearer. A long, heavy, grotesque silhouette, slithering beneath the mud like a living nightmare. But Kumi didn't know. He kept panting, muddy water dripping down his muzzle and neck. Suddenly, the water rippled, and in the blink of an eye, a devastating force exploded from beneath. Water erupted. Mud splashed into Nia's eyes. Kumi screamed, a cry of pain and terror. His body was yanked violently downward, half of him already swallowed by the filthy water. His hind legs scrambled to hold on, clawing at the earth, leaving streaks of blood across the sand. Shani whipped around, her eyes frozen in horror. Right in front of her, her son was being dragged into the mud. And then she roared, not a call, but a thunderclap from the heart of a mother. In the time it takes for a heart to beat, the line between a mother's love and death was torn apart. But for a mother, nothing is too terrifying to face if it means saving her child. Shani roared, a sound so fierce it sent the entire flock of vultures spiraling in panic above. She didn't hesitate, she didn't think, she charged straight into the mud where her son was thrashing. Thick, sticky mud exploded as Shani's powerful body slammed into the water. Beneath the swamp, a crocodile as massive as a fallen log was dragging Kumi away, its jaws clamped around the boy's waist. Shani bit down hard on its tail, roaring like a demon unleashed. The crocodile thrashed wildly, flinging mud high into the air. But Shani refused to let go. She held on tight. Blood began to seep from her shoulder. Through the flickering light and flying dirt, she saw its eye. Yes, it was him. The one who had killed Rondo, her mate, 2 years ago. The long scar across its left temple was the proof. A fire ignited in her chest. Shani screamed. She leapt forward and sank her teeth into the crocodile's left eye. A howling screech tore through the swamp. The beast convulsed, its enormous body rolling like a hurricane of flesh and rage. Mud erupted. Blood stained the water. Shani slipped under once more, nearly pulled down with it. But in that brief second, as the crocodile stumbled back, blinded on one side, Shani clamped her jaws around Kumi's neck and pulled with everything she had. Her whole body was numb, but her legs held fast to the ground beneath. With one final lunge, she yanked Kumi free from the water's grip. The crocodile vanished into the murk, gone, like a nightmare swept away. The rage faded as the water returned to its eerie stillness. Only the raw truth remained. No screams, no warnings, just a silent body. Shani laid Kumi down on the cracked earth. She gasped for breath, her body soaked in blood and mud. Her eyes, wide with panic, searched his face, waiting for a groan, a twitch, a faint breath, nothing. Kumi lay limp, his body lifeless and soft. His eyes were wide open, but empty. Shani pressed her head against his, licking his face all over. She nudged him, first gently, then harder. No response. A terrible bite mark stretched across his belly, but the worst part, his neck, was broken. Nia crept up behind, unsure and timid, her big eyes confused. She pressed against her mother, staring at her brother, not understanding. She lay down beside Kumi, resting her head on his belly, just like she used to when they were cubs, just like all lion mothers do. Time slowed, and in that silence, you could almost hear the sound of a breaking heart. Shani nibbled gently on Kumi's ear. She licked the wound on his belly, as if she could soothe it, as if it might just go away. Nia whimpered softly, curling into Shani's side. There were no tears, only a tender confusion that didn't yet understand what death was. But Shani understood, and because she understood, she could no longer roar. The sky never cried. The trees stayed dry and brittle, and death remained still by the edge of the murky water. But the lioness mother, she never left. Shani lay there, 3 days and 3 nights. No food, no roar, no movement. Nia curled against her body, but Shani's eyes never left Kumi, not for a single second. The sky never changed. The stench of blood and mud still rose from that place, a scent that would haunt her forever. Vultures began circling above, but they dared not land, because down below was a mother who refused to let go. On the evening of the 3rd day, as the sun dipped low and red on the horizon, Shani slowly rose, like a statue come to life, each step was a break, a fracture in her soul. She let out a soft growl, a whisper of farewell. No one heard it, only the wind. Then she turned away and never looked back. Nia trailed behind, glancing over her shoulder. And the little boy, he lay there, forever still, between the mud and the sunset. Years passed. The dry land never changed. The stench remained, the water still murky, but something strange. At every sunset, people spoke of a lioness, old and alone, sitting by the edge of that water. She never roared, she never moved, she just stared into the water that had taken everything from her and kept the deepest part of her heart. Not to hate, but to remember. Not to call her son back, but to keep a promise. I will never forget you. My dear friends, a mother's love doesn't need words. It lives in the way she watches over her child, protects them, waits for them to wake, even when she knows they never will. In the animal kingdom, where survival is everything, love, a mother's love, rises above even the fiercest instincts. Shani, a lioness, never gave up. She didn't walk away. She didn't look the other way. She fought. She endured. She accepted loss, just like so many mothers do across this world. The story of Shani isn't just a tale from the wild. It's the story of your mother, of the woman who held you in her arms during nights of high fever, the one who stayed awake just to make sure you were sleeping peacefully. Maybe your mother never roared like Shani, but she roared in her heart every time you were hurt. Maybe she never fought crocodiles, but she sacrificed her time, her youth, and her strength, so you could grow up safe. If your mother is still with you, hold her. If you are a mother, please know that your love is one of the world's greatest wonders. And if you've lost your mother, hold on to those memories, because they are the flame that time can never extinguish. Thank you for walking with me through this journey. The story of Shani and the shadows beneath a dying river might just be a memory of the wild, but I believe it's also a part of each of our hearts. What did you feel from this story? Have you ever witnessed a Shani in real life? Share your thoughts with me in the comments. And if this story touched you, don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, because here we preserve the stories that should never be forgotten.